The world of anime is a fascinating place, full of stories that mark generations, unforgettable characters, and moments forever etched in fans' hearts. But what many people don't know is that, quite often, the anime we watch doesn't tell exactly the same story as the manga. This happens for many reasons. Sometimes the manga is still ongoing when the anime is produced. In other cases, studios want to deliver a closed ending, or they simply choose to create a different interpretation of the original work. The result? Completely different endings that change characters' fates, and even the core message of the story. So, if you enjoy this type of curiosity and love discovering surprising differences between manga and anime, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Zen Otaku, because today I'll show you 10 famous manga that ended in a totally different way than their anime adaptations. Let's get started. 1. Full Metal Alchemist. The first anime, released in 2003, started faithfully adapting the manga, but soon caught up with the chapters that were still being published. Studio Bones had to invent its own version of the story. In the manga, Hiromu Arakawa builds a complex plot involving a mistress, the homunculi, and the terrifying father. In the 2003 anime, however, the homunculi had a different origin, and the final villain wasn't the same. The ending was so divergent that years later they released Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, which was fully faithful to the original work. 2. Soul Eater. The anime won fans with its unique style and charismatic characters, but quickly caught up with the manga. To avoid leaving the series unfinished, the studio created an alternative ending. In the anime, the battle against Asura is resolved quickly, and Maka defeats him through courage and determination. In the manga, the story is much more detailed, with additional revelations. The alternative ending disappointed many fans, but still became iconic for its time. 3. Tokyo Ghoul. Sui Ishida's manga is dark, complex, and full of metaphors. The anime, however, especially the second season called Route A, took a completely different path. In the manga, Kaneki goes through a painful journey, facing traumas until he becomes the One-Eyed King. In the anime, he makes different choices and the story heads in another direction. Many essential parts of the original work were either cut or drastically altered. 4. Neon Genesis Evangelion. The anime ended in an enigmatic and philosophical way, focusing on the character's psychology in the final episodes. Fans were so confused that the studio later released the movie The End of Evangelion, offering a much darker and apocalyptic conclusion. Meanwhile, Yoshiyuki Sadamoto's manga presented a different ending, still introspective but less chaotic. Evangelion is a prime example of how one story can spawn multiple interpretations. 5. Akame ga Kill. The anime took an alternate route in its final stretch, killing characters in different orders and giving them different outcomes. In the manga, for instance, Tatsumi's fate is completely different from the anime, and the final battles also change significantly. This divergence made many fans see the anime as more of a parallel version than a faithful adaptation. 6. Elfen Lied. The anime only adapted part of the manga, leaving out important revelations about Lucy, her origin, and the story's later developments. While the anime ends ambiguously, the manga goes much further, offering a definitive conclusion. The manga also explores guilt, redemption, and violence in an even deeper way, making the experience more intense. 7. Hellsing. The 2001 anime deviated heavily from the manga, inventing villains and cutting large parts of the narrative. The manga told a brutal war against the Nazi organization Millennium, culminating in an epic and bloody finale. Later, Hellsing Ultimate was released, this time faithfully adapting the manga and showing the story as it was truly meant to be. 8. Fruits Basket. The 2001 anime ended prematurely without adapting the full emotional journey of the characters. Many key revelations about the Soma family were left out, leaving the story incomplete. Years later, in 2019, a full remake was released, finally adapting Natsuki Takaya's manga faithfully and delivering a much more emotional and satisfying ending. 9. Claymore. The anime gained many fans, but since the manga was still ongoing, the studio decided to create its own ending. The anime's conclusion was completely different from the original material and ended abruptly. In the manga, the story continues much further, introducing new characters, epic battles, and a far more satisfying resolution. 10. Black Butler, Kuroshi Tsuji. The anime quickly surpassed the manga's events and invented many original storylines, including completely new endings. This resulted in seasons that had no connection to the original work. Later, some arcs were faithfully readapted, but confusion still remains among fans who started with the anime. The manga remains the most reliable source for understanding the true fate of Ciel and Sebastian. 11. Deadman Wonderland. The anime adaptation of Deadman Wonderland was released before the manga was finished, which forced the studio to create an open and rushed conclusion. The manga, however, goes much further, revealing secrets about the dead men, the truth behind the prison, and offering a real closure to Ganta's journey. Fans often recommend reading the manga to get the full story. 12. Blue Exorcist. Ao no Exorcist. The anime initially followed Kazue Kato's manga, but after episode 15, it began to diverge with original content and an invented ending. This created confusion among fans because the anime skipped arcs that were essential to the story. Later, with Blue Exorcist, Kyoto Saga, the series returned to the manga's canon, but the split between versions remained. 13. Trigun. The 1998 anime became a cult classic, but had to create its own ending because the manga was still in publication. The anime concludes with a bittersweet resolution, while the manga develops a much longer story, introducing new characters and exploring themes of redemption more deeply. Years later, Trigun Stampede brought a new reinterpretation of the material. 14. Shaman King. The original 2001 anime caught up to the manga quickly and needed to create its own conclusion, leaving out the true final battle and the deeper lore about the Great Spirit. Years later, in 2021, a full remake was released, this time faithfully adapting Hiroyuki Takei's manga and delivering the true intended ending. 15. Gantz. The anime adaptation of Gantz adapted only part of the manga and ended with an entirely original arc. The manga by Hiroya Oku, however, continued for years, diving into dark and violent scenarios with existential questions about humanity and survival. The anime gave only a glimpse of the madness that the manga fully delivered. These were just some examples of manga that ended in a totally different way than their anime adaptations. Each case has its reasons: market pressure, tight schedules, ongoing stories, or creative studio choices. But one thing is certain: these differences end up creating parallel universes where each version has its own unique identity. Now I want to know from you, which of these different endings surprised you the most? Do you prefer when an anime follows the manga faithfully, or when studios create alternative versions? Tell me in the comments. And of course, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Zen Otaku for more curiosities about the incredible world of anime and manga.